Hey there, bibliophiles and those raising bibliophiles. If you're looking for great books worthy of your children to read and wondering which ones you may want to avoid, well, join me for this week's book review to see if it should be added to your to-read list or your banned book list. Today's book review is the first in a three-part series for a middle school fantasy by Katherine Applegate. You may or may not have seen the Endling around, but this book review will be for book one of this series called The Last. This is a 2018 novel that is recommended for ages 9 to 11. There are some darker elements in the story and some sensitive topics that may be presented. So I'm going to talk about those a little bit. So you may want to use some caution if you have children on the younger side of that and determining their sensitivity to that. Also, keep in mind we are talking about fantasy, so there are some magical elements within the book that I will discuss. The premise of this fantasy novel is Bix, Darn. I may be mispronouncing that, but I'm going to go with that pronunciation, so just kind of go with me if I'm saying it wrong. But she's possibly the last of her kind. The first-person narration opens with Bix defying protocol for her family and venturing out just a little bit further than she's supposed to from the family's den. As a result, she is attacked by poachers, and she inadvertently saves a Wabik in the process of her escape. After evading the poachers, Bix, along with a Wabik, trek back to her family's den, where she is shocked to find that her family is currently being killed by Morando soldiers. While attempting to run at the soldiers, she is attacked and sedated by another mysterious guide. Bix is momentarily taken captive by a girl who is disguised as a boy, who intends to take the last Darn to the island of scholars in an attempt to preserve her life. Pretty much from here is where the story begins to rise and take shape as the girl Kara befriends Bix and Tobble, the Wabik. The trip to the island does not go as expected at all, and two more companions are added to their crew. We have a boy named Luca and a Felvet named Gambler. And he is like a cat-like creature. Upon escape, they're traveling north in an attempt to find other Darrens. And it is, if that's at all possible, like it's just rumors. They don't even know. Like she may be the last. Unfortunately, there is a night of fire after them, and he's trying to capture them. And they are eventually captured and taken to the Morando. So nothing is easy or simple. There's also war brewing between two regions, and other creatures, because of this, are at risk of extinction. And Bix has to come to terms with the loss of her family, but also gaining new ones and kind of finding who she is and who herself is, because she's used to being the runt. And so that's a huge part of the story. The novel is clean in regards to language and romantic relationships, but like I said, there is magic in this book. There's mentions of spells and their usage. You see it a little bit more in some of the later books, but just to kind of let you know that that's there. The magic is used by helpful characters and also by the villains. So it's not, it's more of a neutral thing, I guess, is the way to put that. There are some key quotes and things worth looking at that I mention in my written review. So I would certainly take time to kind of check that out if there's anything that you may think that's questionable. One of the special things about Bix is that she has the ability to detect if somebody is lying. And so that's one of the reasons that she is sort of sought after as far as killing them, because they're able to talk, these creatures, but then they're also able to tell if people are lying. And so it's very powerful to have one of those in your possession if you're a leader trying to take over the world. But if there's too many of them, then they can combat you, or other people can know that you're lying. And so that's what's really put them at risk. When Bix's parents are murdered, the description states that they were, in quotes, piled on the ground like discarded hides, blood pouring, white and pearly, soaking the leaves, eyes glassy and open, mouths open, torn and stabbed, end quote. And that's on page 46. So just sort of to let you know, like that's kind of a description that's kind of detailed that could be a little bit much depending on the age of your reader. There are spells and incantations that are referred to as Thurgi in the novel. Kara is unsure really about how it works because she's too young to have access to it, but some of the other older characters do. One of the great quotes in the book is, "There are many scholars, but few seekers after truth. Humans believe the things that makes them feel safe. They care little for difficult facts." And you also have Tobble, who, is pushing and asking questions. Another great quote is, "In truth lies strength." And so there is this push, this idea for truth in the book, and that's definitely a theme that you'll see throughout the story. You definitely see Katherine Applegate writes a lot of stories that talk about animals, and so you can see her sort of, I guess, heart is maybe what I would do, is that, like that's sort of the niche or the angle that she's from, and this idea of caring for creation and conservation. So if you've watched my earlier book reviews, I had one for Otter, and this one, while it is fantasy, there is a strong focus on the fact that creatures are valuable, that every part of the ecosystem really works together in an environment and in a world in order to keep it all working, and that to remove one of those, to allow a species to go extinct or something of that nature, isn't right and isn't good. They also talk about power dynamics in the story and strength and all of those things. And so I think in that aspect, she's using fantasy, and particularly fantasy with animals, to really talk about some serious themes and topics that are worth discussing. How do we deal with the fact that there are, evil things in the world who are seeking to kill and destroy, and how do we approach that? How do we handle that? So, magic aside, the novel is highly engaging for readers, with action that's constantly moving and shifting. There's lots of twists and turns. There's definitely a twist in the plot that I didn't even see coming in the book, so I thought that was great. But for parents, I know it's really hard if you have children who are into fantasy to find stuff that's clean and suitable for them. So, if the magic elements aside are not something that is prohibitive to you, then I would definitely take a look at Endling. Definitely go check out my review just for a few more details, in case, you can kind of peruse through that and see if that matters for you. For me, I was definitely 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fast pace. I enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed the themes that you can see that the author really cares about the subject matter of animals, and how everything really, has that symbiotic relationship, and there is a connection to all those things. So a great book. Stay tuned. Next week will be the second book in this series, which is The First.